I was treated as an object and a trait, and I went on surviving. What she did most was pull my hair. I survived.
Tonight we have the honor to have a special guest, Maria José Silveira. Maria José, she's from Goiás and lives in São Paulo. She is a writer, translator, and publisher. Her intention is to provide a vision of Brazil through the perspective of contemporary theater.
In 1739, Francisca, an Indian slave woman of the city of Belém do Pará, near the mouth of the Amazon River, was persuaded by her young lover, Angélico de Barros Gonçalves, to petition the Portuguese colonial authorities for her freedom. And this is the basic plot of the play. This is the drama that our heroine in the monologue is going to try to resolve.
Every time something really bad happens to me, that melody comes to my head. It's not from my people. It's from the horseman that brought me over here. A melody to quiet the suffering. That gives consolation and the hope of arriving someplace. Whatever that place may be. I was treated as an object and a trait. In the end of the journey, Captain Anacleto Rayol decided to separate me from her, Rosaura, and to sell me to Anacleto Ferreira. And Captain Anacleto, when we arrived in Belém, gave me to Dona Ana da Fonte as part of a payment for the goods Dona Ana had given to the expedition. My memory will also not let me forget the list of goods on the receipt that she read out loud when she received me. It listed 4 bags of white glass beads, 2 bags of blue, 12 pounds of tobacco, 12 pounds of sugar, 2 dozens of chinaware, 2 dozens of hunting knives, and 6 musket lyrics. If you think that living as a slave may not be so bad, I take care of the kitchen, of the clothes, and I go to the market. A life of many chores and few laughs. For any small thing, every day, even today, she will strike me with the stick she always keeps at hand, and she pinches me. For Dona Ana, I am the thing she can use as she likes. In the beginning, what she did most was pull my hair. It is very easy to pull indigenous hair. That's why when I then thought of our people's warriors and I did as they did, I cut my hair to the roots. My head looked frightening, but at least she no longer had anything to grab. And I went on surviving. I even survived the smallpox epidemic. My amulet protected me. or the pus from the sick people that the Carmelite friar passed on me. He did that to keep the past away, but he only did this to the slaves. For me it worked. I survived. Meu Angélico. Angélico said I lost the petition because of Dona Ana's wiles and because of the false witnesses she got. That must have been it. My Angélico. Angélico de Barros Gonçalves, a tailor, 10 years younger than me. Half-breed, son of commander from the Rio Negro fort. Angélico told the true story he heard from Captain Anacleto Real himself, to whom he had spoken at the port one day, and who told him that I had been delivered to him as a free woman to accompany his wife. But his testimony was given little credit because it was stated that he spoke on personal interests, so as to take me to his house as his concubine. And I was almost a free woman again. And the truth be said, if it only depended upon the head of justice, I would have been given my freedom. At a certain moment, he said that since Dona Ana was unable to present the legal slave certificate, and since I was brought in an expedition that only had permission to bring cacao and not for the acquisition of slaves, and since they didn't even have a Jesuit priest aboard, it was his understanding that I had been made a slave illegally. But the religious men of the Council of the Missions, they who were the ones appointed to give the final judgment on matters related to the indigenous, declared not so. The reason they gave was that the witnesses I presented were not reliable. Besides the fact that I had been given as a gift to Rosaura by the Tushawa Amu, who I call the father, for tribal reasons. Not that he were truly my father, which meant clearly that I had been given by him as a slave and should therefore continue being a slave to Dona Ana, compensating her for the value she had spent buying me. White men don't respect us. Puranga ainda supê, tipuranga indígena supiarã. Ta supê indígena timaie ainda wawe. Ta supê yande amu awa maemã. Yepe su yuntu purakiarã. What is good for them is not good for the indigenous. For them, the indigenous is not like them. We are something else. A type of animal that knows how to work. And it's for work that I'm here, back in Donna Anna's backyard. It's a matter of chance. But once again, I say, it doesn't matter. I did what I had to do with Angelico and my friends' help. And more I will do whenever I can. I will roll on and I will slowly stroke my flames. But all the same, I decided to go ahead and bring on a legal action. Because there is something else I know. That in the river of our life, whether it's smooth or rough, you should never stop rowing. Never. I was born free, and I want to go back to being free. Whatever I can do to be free again, I will do. Until one day, I become free again in some other place. Free again.
This story is a very exemplary story because Francisca, she never gave
This
up.
is precisely the moment, like in this wonderful occasion of translating Francisca, in deciding how is she going to speak in English. You know, is she, what kind of marks are we going to leave in her text? And this is always a big challenge for the writer to decide how, what kind of words are going to be in the mouth of that character. And let me ask you, in the novel that you wrote, which is her novel, it was translated into English and it's going to be launched next week here in New York, so we're going to give you the information. But
You are all invited.
yes, the novel is beautiful. It's really worth reading. Did you have this preoccupation, or did you just have, because you have a narrator in the novel, and that narrator
Yes,
is going to...
the narrator in my novel is the placenta. It's just kind of a spoiler for you, but that doesn't matter. But at the end, you will understand or not, depends on the lecture you are making. But it's the placenta that is with all the heritage or physical heritage we have. The nurturing, the placenta is nurturing the baby, and with this nurturing, she's transmitting all this the story of her ancestors. Well, yeah, because in this case, I am this novel is about racial mix in Brazil, and it has all to do with DNA. When I began to write, the first idea I had about this novel, it came from a research that was made by the University of Minas Gerais about the DNA of the Brazilian people. And they concluded that 2/3 of the Brazilian people has Indian and black and European blood. So we are really a country of racial mixing people. So this is the point of start of my story. So so that's why I began with the first when the day I'm sorry. I began with an Indian girl that was born at the arrival of the Portuguese in Brazil. And so the novel, the narrator of the story has to be the mother. So but I couldn't, it was a phantasm to, well, it couldn't be the mother, so it could be her placenta.
Was there something about Francisca's story that suggested itself to you as being particularly theatrical, that wanted to be expressed in performance and monologue form?
The voice of Francisca is a voice to be heard. And so I think that it should be a play. That's what you were. In the case of Francisca, she was the first Indian woman or man, the first one, to try to have a petition against her illegal slavery. She was the first one, the first case in Brazil of an Indian making such a petition.
Well, as the history of that developed, eventually I imagine those petitions were honored, or did it remain in limbo like that?
No, those petitions were very few, because the Indians, they hadn't the means to do so. Francisca was, she had the means because she was, she learned Portuguese very well.
The idea is to have these plays not only translated into English for the many reasons you can imagine, but to also, depending on the play, have them translated into Nhengatu and Guarani, one of the main indigenous languages still very much spoken.